if you want to know more about some of the ties among the first 3 Child's Play movies that you might not have known about, then stick around to the end of this video. We pick up right where we left off. Yeah, I'm just jumping into this. At the factory from the end of Child's Play 2. Only a lot of time has passed and it's now shut down. The opening titles are very Halloween, but instead of showing the decomposing pumpkin in reverse, we see the plastic melting in reverse, and also being infused with Chucky's cursed blood or whatever. I don't know, this is the dumbest method of resurrection for Chucky yet, and I think that's saying a lot. We find out that the company behind the good guy dolls are thinking about bringing them back, and Mr. Sullivan, our buddy from the second movie, makes the final call. He has a conversation with one of the other executives.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna get going. It's just my wife's expecting me. It's our anniversary.
This is a direct parallel to the executive who gets killed early on in Child's Play 2.
The vodka. Oh, the vodka. Of course I remembered the vodka. 2-week anniversary. Think I forget the vodka.
So apparently there's also a cut scene from that movie where he immediately calls his wife after that and tells her that he'll be home late. So I guess the 2-week anniversary is like how long he's been smashing his assistant. But back to Child's Play 3. Looking around Mr. Sullivan's office, there are a few set pieces that foreshadow the events that would later take place. For example, this Ferris wheel precedes the final sequence taking place at a fair. This toy army man is a hint that the movie will take place in a military school. If we pause as the camera sweeps by Mr. Sullivan's computer, you may see a text document called Barclay.doc, alongside some numerical information. This is the same computer that Chucky uses to find Andy's location, so it seems like the company may be keeping tabs on him to make sure he doesn't do anything to possibly damage the profit lines any further. That might be the creepiest thing in the movie, actually. Imagine this corporation secretly tracking your every move for 8 years after one of their dolls tried to kill you. In the last 2 episodes of Things You Missed, I mentioned the potential mistake on the Good Guys boxes, where it said Play Partners Toys instead of Play Pals Toys, which is the name of the company. In this movie though, there seemed to be more products with Play Partners listed on the box, so I'm starting to think maybe this was not a mistake. Maybe Play Partners is the parent company of Play Pals or something. Chucky attacks Mr. Sullivan using an army of his own toys, a fitting death considering he knowingly put a dangerous product on the market in the last movie. Chucky chokes him to death, and his line, just like the good old days, is a reference to him being a criminal known as the Lakeshore Strangler prior to the events of the first one. We catch up with Andy as he rolls into the military school, which looks like it's in Missouri based on this license plate. Too bad for Andy, because St. Louis is boring.
Who would want to play in St. Louis? So boring.
Yeah,
So boring.
Speaking of boring, the newspaper article that the Colonel has in Andy's file is the most boring and vague article I've ever read, and it actually just repeats the same paragraphs over and over. I guess when you force out 3 movies in 3 years though, this is the kind of quality you get from your art department. That being said, there is something of note in the headline text, which reads, "Death still unresolved, mother under psychiatric care." This suggests that although we may not have seen it in the other movies, there may have been some uncertainty in the public eye about whether Andy's mom actually deserved to be institutionalized. If the case is still open, that means they may still be investigating. Andy is forced to get his hair cut from military school, and in the barbershop, there's some cadets whose locks are on display on the wall. Many of their names are jokes or pop culture references. I saw a Mr. Smells, Mr. Hertz, Stud, Wile E. Coyote, Bruce Willis, and Tommy Lee Jones. There's also a dartboard in the room behind Sergeant Botnick's head. This could be a symbol for him being Chucky's future target, especially considering the fact that Chucks has already used darts as weapons earlier in the movie against Mr. Sullivan. The sergeant tells Andy about how the Romans invented the military cut, so that their enemies couldn't grab hold of it in battle and slit their throats. That strategy didn't really work for him though, because he later meets his fate when he gets a throat slit by Chucky while trying to give him a buzz. As Andy's getting his trim, a Good Guys episode comes on TV, and it's the same episode from the first movie. We get to see a little more of it on camera this time around.
We're back, and we're better than ever. No one will play with me. Uh-oh, there's a friend in me.
This kid Tyler even has a similar reaction to Andy when he first saw the commercial.
Wow!
Wow.
So Chucky ends up mailing himself to Andy, but Tyler ends up opening the box instead. I have serious questions about how Chucky was able to wrap up this package, if he was inside of it, and then put that package in the mail, and pay for postage. But let's just ignore those things and get to the part where Chucky reveals his true self to Tyler and tries to do the ritual to possess his body. The Colonel shows up and interrupts things by taking Chucky away.
I'll be back.
I think this is kind of a Terminator reference.
I'll be back.
Chucky and the Terminator are both kind of robotic killers in the way, the main difference being that Chucky is slowly turning human. Andy's roommate Whitehurst tells Andy he needs to unpack, which may or may not be an intentional reference to Mrs. Simpson telling Kyle to unpack in the previous movie, but Andy unpacks his stuff and we see that he's got a magazine called Playpen. It seems that Andy has grown up and moved from Play Pals to Playpen, and the text on the front of the magazine says, "Come play with me," just as the good guy box says, "Hi, I'm a good guy, let's play." Andy is left alone in the room with Chucky, but the drill leader, Shelton, barges in and steals the doll as a present for his younger sister. And Andy is finally smart enough now to know that most people will think he's insane if he tells them the truth about Chucky. So instead, Andy tries to warn Tyler that Chucky will come after him, but not before the Colonel sees Chucky moving around and has a heart attack as a result. Then Chucky slits the throat of the barber, Sergeant Botnick, as I mentioned earlier. So it all comes down to this thing they do called the War Games, which is basically capture the flag meets paintball. My parents always used to use military school as a punishment threat whenever I got in trouble. Like, you better be good or we're gonna have to send you to military school. And I always thought that would have been like the worst punishment you could get as a kid, but judging from this movie, it looks kind of fun. I mean, you get to camp out, possibly command your own little army unit with paintballs and walkie-talkies. I'd take that over sitting in a classroom and watching Bill Nye the Science Guy all day. But it's all fun and games until Chucky brings in a real grenade? Why does the school even have this? It's like the whole shock device from the first one all over again. Also, what happened to Chucky's teeth? Looks like that one lady I pointed out in the Black Christmas episode. Anyway, after Chucky tries to kill them all with a grenade and Whitehurst takes one for the team, Tyler realizes, you know what? Maybe this Barclay kid was right. Maybe this Chucky guy isn't such a good guy. I mean, technically he is a good guy. Just forget I said that. Tyler flees to the fair and Chucky makes him go into this dark ride called the Devil's Lair. And let me just say, this is an awesome looking ride. This is way above the quality I would expect from a carnival attraction. This is some Haunted Mansion level shit. Part 1 of this ride is in a graveyard, representing Chucky's numerous victims over the 3 films. Part 2 takes place in hell, representing Andy's personal hell of once again being hunted by Chucky, after he thought it was over 8 years ago. Chucky's ritual is once again interrupted when he dives out of the way because he doesn't want to be seen by the people on the ride. But honestly, I don't know why. I mean, he's basically no different than an animatronic. He'd fit right in there. Then he gets his face sliced open by this Reaper's scythe, you know, because they used a real scythe to decorate this ride. But that doesn't stop him from making one more attempt to take over Tyler's body, during which Andy shoots him and blows off his arm, something that happens to Chucky in all 3 movies. After that, Andy shoots him in the heart, which makes sense because that's what worked in the first movie. But apparently that just doesn't work anymore, because, you know, continuity. So the key this time is to knock Chucky into a high-speed fan and let it shred him up. And the shot symbolically represents Chucky falling into the pits of hell. The movie ends on another symbolic shot. It's one that I was hesitant to bring up in my video on the second movie, the carousel. In the previous video, I talked about how the carousel represents Andy going around and around to different homes and never settling in because Chucky always comes after him and ruins it for him. So he continues to go around this endless circle. The music at the end seems to suggest that Chucky isn't done for good, with the carousel telling us that it's business as usual for Andy Barclay. That brings us to the conclusion of the original Child's Play series, but we've got a remake on the way very shortly. So make sure you subscribe to CZsWorld so you don't miss out on the next episode of Things You Missed, where I'll be covering the 2019 Child's Play. Make sure you ring the death bell for notifications, and I'll see you then, assuming we both survive.